welcome to the SBK Saturday Night Selections, our first podcast of many. We'll be here every single week taking you through the American action and also the English evening action as well. There'll be plenty to jump into as we're kind of going in at the deep end with the 148th running of the Kentucky Derby. We'll be going through runner by runner in a few moments' time, and also our fancies. We'll also have a quick look at Thirsk as well, which is the evening meeting in the UK on Saturday night. But my name's Luke Elder. I'll be here with Tom Collins from pretty much every single week from here on out. Tom, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm very good, Lou. Looking forward to this podcast, the first of many, as you say. Really looking forward to it. We're the only podcast out here doing the US and the UK evening Saturday racing. So that's the reason to keep coming back and watching us every week. Kentucky Derby, what a great way to start. I mean, the first big race of the Triple Crown races in the US. We've got 20 runners. Can't wait to get stuck in. Yeah,
this has been in the pipeline for a little while. We were going to try and start it a few weeks ago, but then Tom goes, why not start on Kentucky Derby Day? Why not go for that? So we're starting at the top, Tom, and we're going to work our way gradually down, I imagine, over the next few weeks, but we're on the Triple Crown trail at least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't promise this quality every single week for listeners, but look, we're going to cover the big races in the US every week. We're hopefully going to pick out a few winners as well. And as I say, is there a better tipping race to start with than the Kentucky Derby? 20 horses, take your shot. Hopefully we get the winner.
Yeah, when Tom says class-wise, he means horse-wise. Me and Tom are going to be here every single week, so that part's fine. Myself and Tom are going to run you through runner by runner, each and every horse in the Kentucky Derby. I'll be taking the odd numbers. Tom will be taking the evens. So that leads me in to start with Mo Donegal, who was going to be one of the more forefront runners in the race. Stall 1 is an absolute nightmare for him. He did win fairly impressively in the Wood Memorial. He was third in the Holy Bull as well down at Gulfstream Park, but there's no winner from Stall 1, Tom, since 1986. That was Ferdinand. That's not a strong stat for him.
No, it's not. And it's not a strong stat for Stall 2 either. The horse jumped from Stall 2 is Happy Jack for Rafael Bejarano and Doug O'Neill. This horse, as I say, jumps from Stall 2. The last winner to win from Stall 2, affirmed in 1978. It's a long drought. It's not the place you want to be. There are new gates this year, I have to say, so it shouldn't be as much of a disadvantage. He finished third to Tybet in the Santa Anita Derby. He needs to step forward from that. He's 30-1 on the morning line.
Yeah, a bit more of a fancied runner in Stall 3. That will be Epicenter, who was Antipo's favourite for this race for quite some time. That hasn't quite gone through. Stall 3, not the nicest draw to have. No winner from Stall 3 since 1998. The last horse to even hit the board in this race was Golden Soul back in 2013. But Epicenter was very impressive in the Louisiana Derby last time around. Ran to a bare speed figure of 102, which is one spot, Tom, just below the highest in this field.
Exactly, yes. And he's got a much better chance than the horse in Stall 4, in my opinion, which is Summit is Tomorrow. He's a very intriguing runner, though, a unique horse in this race because he comes from Dubai. Bhupat Seemar, who's trained plenty of top-level winners, sends him over. Mikel Barcelona, who rode 2011 Epsom Derby winner Pour Moi, takes the ride. He's a very intriguing runner. He could be on the front, but he's going to have to improve on his recent efforts. He's also 30-1 on the morning line.
Yeah, and a little bit shorter on the morning line, 20-1 about Smile Happy. A horse that we hear more about throughout this podcast was actually behind Epicenter last time around. He did go off 7-4 favourite, though, in the Bluegrass. He finished second in that race. It was a decent enough run. And stall-wise, you're looking at a better draw as well. Always Dreaming won from Stall 5 in 2017, and Audible was third in this race back in 2018 from Stall 5. So we're getting toward the better draws, Tom.
We are indeed. Another horse drawn well is Messier in Stall 6. He's a horse that represents Tim Yakteen, but obviously comes from Bob Baffert's barn. Bob Baffert can't have any runners in this year's edition of Kentucky Derby, but this horse obviously has been trained by Baffert leading up to the race. He's got great tactical speed. He should be positioned well throughout. He's ridden by John Velasquez, who's ridden 2 Kentucky Derby winners. So there are plenty of things to like about Messier in Stall 6.
And then we bring in the Japanese runner with Crown Pride. Japan never won the Kentucky Derby in the past, but we did say that about the Breeders' Cup up until last year. They won 2 races at Del Mar. That'll be a positive for Crown Pride. I'm not sure how strong that UAE form is from last time around. We saw Tom telling us a little bit earlier on about Summer is Tomorrow. That was the horse who was behind Crown Pride that day. I'm not 100% convinced, but always good to have the international runners, Tom.
Yes, exactly. But back to the US runners for Stall 8, and that's Charge It, who represents Todd Pletcher and Louis Sayers, a leading combination, jockey-trainer combination right there. This horse, lightly raced, only had 3 starts, never been seen away from Gulfstream. He makes the trip from Florida across the country. He's 20-1 on the morning line, but plenty think he's got a much better chance.
Yeah, there'll be maybe a few more mentions for him a little bit later on, less so for Tiz the Bomb, who's got one of the more intriguing profiles in this race. He's one of 2 in the race for Kenny McPeak, along with Smile Happy. He was second kind of in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf a little while ago, obviously the Ferrari before the race, but he was well beaten in the Holy Bull. Things haven't gone right this season, and potentially he could be a turf runner, so he might be an outsider to overlook.
Yes, and one horse that isn't an outsider is the horse in gate 10. He's your likely favourite, and that's Zandon for Chad Brown and Flavien Prat. Flavien Prat dominating the riding scene in the US right now. Zandon's a hold-up performer. He'll need luck in running, but his bluegrass success at Keenan last time was extremely impressive. He surged through the field. He's going to be a short price in here. Can he justify favouritism?
Yeah, a big price that you might want to consider. Pioneer of Medina for Joe Bravo. Morning line 30-1, which generally would signify he's a bit more of a no-hoper, but I don't think that's quite the case. He ran to a speed figure of 96 when third in the Louisiana Derby. Obviously, he's got work to do to overturn that form with Epicenter, as mentioned earlier on. Whether he can be handy from stall 11, we shall see. No winner from stall 11 since 1988. The last horse to hit the board, though, was Code of Honor back in 2019, so he might well have live each way claims.
Another horse with live each way claims is Tiber, another horse that also represents Tim Yakteen that was formerly trained by Bob Baffert. Hall of Fame rider Mike Smith takes the ride. He's 12-1 on the morning line. He's only had 2 starts, stepped up dramatically from his debut win to win last time out in the Santa Anita Derby. Many think this horse has the most talent in the race, but will inexperience catch him out?
Yeah, we heard about Charge It earlier on, and the Florida Raiders. Simplification is the next one on that list. Was third in the Florida Derby last time around. That was a decent run, and he was a pace angle that day. They went 47-1 for the opening half. That's fast enough in a race like that, and the pace angles were picked off later on the day. White Barrio and Charge It both going past Simplification. But before that run, he had done very little wrong, and he does remain pretty unexposed. Again, another horse that's an outsider that you might want to take each way in this.
Yes, another outsider. This one, I don't think you want to be taken each way, but he would be a rags to riches story if he did succeed. It's Barber Road. He jumps from gate 14, representing John Ortiz and Rayleigh Gutierrez. This horse cost just $15,000. It would be an incredible story if he was to win this race. His Arkansas Derby second was a clear career best last time, but he definitely needs to take another step up to even contend the finish here.
Yeah, I'm staying in Florida with White Barrio, who did win at the Florida Derby last time around. Is a horse who's very much on the improve. As I say, he won the Holy Bull as well. That's pretty strong form, taking account of a few of these. But it's only a second runner in the Derby for Safi Joseph. The first of those was back in 2020 when New York Traffic was back in 8th place. I do think there's more to come from White Barrio. He hasn't had a registered work, though, at Churchill Downs, which would be unlike the majority of these in the other field. So we'll see how White Barrio goes.
I've just covered a horse called Barber Road from gate 14. Well, we're about to cover another horse called Cyberknife, who beat Barber Road last time. He jumps from gate 16. He's the first of 3 Brad Cox entries in this race. Will be ridden by Florent Giroux. He's 20-1 on the morning line. He can go left or right under pressure, so watch out for him in the straight. We could have another maximum security situation if he's leading, turning for home. He has to improve on what we've seen, but Brad Cox has done so well with these horses over the last couple of years. You can't write him off.
Time for the death draw now. We go to stall 17 with Classic Causeway. No horse has ever won the Kentucky Derby from stall 17. They bought stalls in from 1930 as well. So that's a long time to go without a winner. The last horse to hit the 3 from this draw, 1988 with 49er. Before the Florida Derby, you'd have given Classic Causeway a chance in this, but he bombed out that day. We haven't seen him since, and I'm not really sure what to expect from him, Tom.
No, he should be on the front, though. One horse that won't be on the front is Tawny Port, another Brad Cox trainee. As I say, Brad Cox's horses haven't drawn overly well here, all getting outside gates. Tawny Port jumping from 18. Another horse that's 30-1 on the morning line. He has to turn the form around from the risen star with the likes of Epicenter, Smile Happy, and Zandon. And he was also beaten by Tiz the Bomb in the Jeff Ruby. So he's got form claims, but not strong ones. He's going to have to improve to win.
Yeah, one of the maybe better chances of the outsiders and also the higher drawn horses is Zozos, who'd be one of a few in this race who didn't race at 2. I think he's got a bit of a chance. He was second to Epicenter in the Louisiana Derby. We see quite a lot of these form lines do tie into each other. I do think he's got a bit of work to overturn that sort of form, but he is improving. And as I say, he is likely raced as well. That's Zozos in 19.
And the final horse in the 2022 Kentucky Derby is Ethereal Road. He's going to be 30-1 on the morning line. He might as well be 99-1. He's got a very, very tough ask from that outside gate. Only one horse has ever won from gate 20. That was Big Brown in 2008. He was a phenomenal horse. He also had a perfect trip throughout. Ethereal Road is not going to figure to get that kind of trip. He represents Dwayne Lucas, who's a Hall of Fame trainer, but that's about all he has as a chance.
Yeah, my note for him was 7th Bluegrass, 4th Lexington Stakes, no chance.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that one.
30-1 on the morning line does generally mean they've got very little chance. There are a few that would go against that. Ethereal Road isn't exactly one of them, but that's a spin through. Were there any horses in there, Tom, just that I mentioned that you didn't get to that you wanted to touch on as well before we get into our picks and analysis of the race?
Yeah, I mean, there are a handful of horses that are drawn in the odd number stalls, as you've been covering, that have got great chances. Obviously, Epicenter was the long-time anti-post favourite for the race. He's one of the leading players, especially if there's not a pace compromise up front. If they go a reasonable gallop, but not too hard, I think he's a major player. And also Smile Happy. We'll come to him a bit more in a second because he's one of my stronger fancies in the race, but I don't think you should overlook him. He's a massive price on the morning line, 20-1. I think the morning line makers made a mistake there, Luke.
Yes, it is the sort of race where that might well happen. The Churchill Downs morning line can be a little bit skew-whiff from time to time as well. And if you are new to American racing, the morning line, it doesn't really reflect. It's kind of a guess of what prices horses might well be, but it's not the most accurate thing in the world. Our bookmakers would be an easier thing to take on forming a market. In regards to the race, it's a Kentucky Derby. There's tons of pace on here. It just depends on who's actually going to get to the front. We alluded to the draw quite a bit. It's quite significant here. But as you said as well, they have changed the stalls in recent years. That they used to be two stalls that joined into each other. The outside stalls kind of came on top of the horses on the inside from about stall 15, 16 inwards. Now it's just one long gate, which helps things and is a fair bit fairer to all.
Yes, exactly. So formally, the horse is drawn in like gate 1, 2, 3. If you had a straight line from their stall, they would be running into the inside rail if they broke out and went in a straight line. So they had to cut across to the right. Horses from their outside were coming to the inside, and therefore there was loads of scrimmaging. And if you were drawn low, unless you had remarkable early pace to get a clear run up front, you were going to struggle to get a good position in the race. This time they've got one big stall, no breaks throughout. As you mentioned, the horses that are drawn in the inside, if you now go on a straight line, go right against the rail. So they don't have to go right out the gates. Therefore, jumping from the inside gates isn't as bad as it was. As you mentioned, there's a lot of pace in this race. There always is in the Kentucky Derby. They're probably going to go 22 3/5 or 22 2/5 through the opening quarter, and then 46 flat through the half. Now, that's standard fractions for a Kentucky Derby. It's what you'd like to see in a sprint rather than a race around 2 turns. But the Kentucky Derby is an intriguing race. It's going to be pace up front. Will the Dubai entrant, Summer is Tomorrow, lead? That's the question, Luke.
Yeah, I've got him down as well. Well, pace angles wise, just to give you a feel. One thing I first do when I look at any American races, I write pace at the top of my card. And pace here is 3, 4, 6, 8, 11, 17, and 19. Obviously, they can't all go forward. Epicenter and Summer is Tomorrow, I think they've got the best chances of getting forward because Mo Donegal from 1 and Happy Jack from 2, they want nothing to do with the lead whatsoever. I don't think they're capable of getting to the lead. So 3 and 4, maybe 6 in Messier, they might be the most live pace angles.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Joe Rosario's only got one option with Epicenter. If you've backed him at a short price, and he'll be available obviously on the market on SBK. Currently no odds for that market, but there will be by the time this podcast goes live on Saturday morning. Epicenter will be one of the market leaders. Joe Rosario, as I say, one option. Go forward on him. He rolls from the front. He's drawn well in gate 3. And as Luke just said, there's no pace inside. So I imagine he'll be up there. I think Messier will be up there. Horses that have come from Bob Baffert's barn have to go forward. Bob Baffert rarely says to his jockeys, you know what, we want to take a pull in the Kentucky Derby. He'll be up there. Tiber, also now representing Tim Yak team, will be on the speed. I think Classic Causeway leads this race from 17. He's going to be gunned out from the gates. I think he's got to try and get across. It's his only chance of winning. And if he does go forward, they could go ridiculous fractions early, and that may set up for a closer.
Yeah, there are plenty of closers as well, and also fancied closers. Classic Causeway, if you watch him last time around, he tapped out as they turned out the back straight at Gulfstream in the Florida Derby. But he was pretty classy going into that, and they have given him a fair bit of time off. But as we say, no horse has ever won this race from stall 17. Hold-up horses then. I'll start with Mo Donegal because this is the horse that myself and you, we were talking about this horse 3 weeks ago, thinking this is my Derby horse. I think we were both kind of thinking that as well. Then the draw comes around. I get a text from you that I can't repeat on air, and Mo Donegal's got stall 1, which is not ideal.
No, it's not ideal at all. As I say, it's a more of an advantage this year than it has been previously, but I'd probably rather every other stall, barring 17 and maybe 2 in this field. Mo Donegal was obviously a leading player. He won the Wood Memorial. I tipped him that day on Twitter, and because of that, I have this love affair with Mo Donegal now. The issue with him is what kind of trip is he going to get? How far back is RLT's going to be? We've seen this kind of plan before with a Todd Pletcher RLT's horse in Known Agenda. That didn't work out. Maybe it works out a little bit better for Mo Donegal. I know you fancy him a little bit more than I do at this spot, but look, if he gets a nice trip in the race and there's a minor pace collapse, he is a major player.
I'm going to go into bat a little bit for Mo Donegal here because I'm a little bit more loyal than you are to him. In the stall one, yes, it's a nightmare. The Wood Memorial last time around, he came from an absolute mile back, which is kind of what he does anyway, because he's not the best away from the stalls. He's not got the most early speed in the world. He's Mo Donegal, but he took a ton of kickback in that race. He ended the race a different color than he started it. It's going to be exactly the same here in the Kentucky Derby. I think that's a race that's really going to have hardened him over in the Wood Memorial. And I just think that we might see a better horse. However, that's the heart part of me talking. The head part of me says that if you gave me 4-1 in the Belmont, I would be backing him right now.
Yeah, I think he's a stronger player in the Belmont. Look, this horse gets a lot of trip, doesn't he? He'll improve for the added distance in the Belmont. He could be ready to win a Kentucky Derby. As I say, he needs the trip. The one thing with Mo Donegal is that he has good form lines with Zandon, who's your current morning line favourite for this race. He actually beat him in the Remsen last year. So you can't write off Mo Donegal. I'm just really worried about him. Look, if he wins this race, you're going to be celebrating on WhatsApp to me. I'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I've ditched this horse. This horse rolls. When he gets into a rhythm, he is a major player. He's probably got one of the highest amount of talent in this race with Tiber and Zandon. It's just, what trip is he going to get? I can't believe that Todd Pletcher would have been happy with that draw at all.
Yeah, we'll mention Zandon as well, because this is a horse that you've fallen in love with over the last week or so, especially since the draw came out in stall 10. There are better draws, but the way the race pans out, this could just be written for Zandon.
Yeah, exactly. I love this horse, Luke. He's going to be my major selection in this race. I backed him anti-post after he won the Bluegrass. I tipped him that day. I wasn't overly confident, but I thought he was the price play in the race. Flavien Prat did an incredible job to negotiate through traffic. The one negative, and I'll start with the negative before I go on to the positives with Zandon, is he's not a very good breaker. Hence why the stall in gate 10 is a massive plus. Right in the middle, horse is concertina, but the horses that are concertinaing are the ones that are trying to go forward to get on the front end. I think Flavien Prat will look to settle in mid-div. It's the perfect gate for him. There's been plenty of winners from stall 10. This horse has major form claims, like really, really strong form claims. And from what I've been seeing on Twitter, he has been working lights out recently. There is no better looking horse in the race than Zandon. Chad Brown hasn't ever won a Kentucky Derby, which is an intriguing fact for a trainer that's just been dominating in the US, albeit mainly on turf in recent seasons. I think this could be his first Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, his rider, Flavien Prat, has kind of won a Kentucky Derby. Country House won it a few years ago, but he inherited it in the steward's room with a fair bit of trouble, we'll say, on the home turn. But I respect Zandon. He very much does look the one to beat. He's 3-1 favourite on the morning line. You mentioned about work, so I'll bring in a horse that I quite like here as well, in Charge It. Zandon, I think he's been working about 48 and a tiny bit on top of that over 4 furlongs, and hard on the bridle as well, which for a horse's level, you'd want that happening, but he's been doing it very impressively. Charge It, he was clueless when running in the Florida Derby last time around. He was second in that race, and he was kind of just working things out. That was really the first time that he's had to race knuckle down and actually put everything together when things didn't quite go his way. His works at Churchill have been very good since shipping up from Gulfstream. He's posted a minute, almost flat, minute and 40 splits over 5 furlongs. That was 10th of 47 on the day. And his most impressive work, which again, like Zandon, was hard on the steel, was 4 furlongs, 47.40. That was 9th of 133 that worked over 4 furlongs that day. Obviously, that does include horses that aren't in the Kentucky Derby as well. It's just any horse on that day at Churchill. But I do think the extra furlong will suit. It's just the case, Tom, of if he learned how to really race in the Florida Derby.
Yeah, he's very inexperienced, isn't he, after just 3 starts? But a Todd Pletcher horse like this is just folly to ignore them. I think Charge It's also a major each-way player. He's not one of my 2 bets or selections in the race, but I can certainly see him troubling the protagonist. I think he's going to be sat mid-div, probably next to Zandon. I know if you're looking at pace maps for the Kentucky Derby, you're thinking Zandon's going to be last. I don't think that's the case. I think he'll be next to Charge It in the mid-division. I think they'll be making runs late. They both close well from off the speed. They both get the distance. I think they're both leading players. Obviously, Zandon's a lot shorter price than Charge It, but I think they both have major claims. And one thing we should mention, you've already touched on Country House and Flavien Prat's victory back in 2019. The weather forecast indicates there could be a lot of rain round at Churchill. Now, that would obviously present a major difference in how you analyse this race, as how you handicap this race. Do you want to be on a speed horse? Do you want to be on a closer? Normally, when I look at races, I think sloppy track, I want to be on a horse that's up on the vanguard, a horse that's got plenty of early and therefore doesn't have the kickback. However, if you look back at recent Kentucky Derby results, when the track has ridden sloppy, obviously they'll seal it before, so it won't be a complete mud bath. But when it's ridden sloppy, you want to be on horses that are closing from off the speed. In 2019, Country House he officially won the race, didn't cross the line in front, obviously Maximum Security did. But in that race, 5 of the first 7 home on the sloppy track at Churchill closed from off the speed. Maximum Security, who crossed the line in front, didn't. He led throughout, but 5 of the other 7 did. In 2018, when Justify won the Kentucky Derby, the vast majority of contenders in that race also closed from off the speed. Now, Justify was the exception in that race, but he was unbeaten in 6 starts and went on to win the Triple Crown. You either need a horse up front that has incredible and immense talent that can ride against the bias, go quick fractions early and continue running, or you need a horse that can roll, that stays the trip and finishes fast to beat those up front. I think Charge It and Zandon are 2 that could fill that latter brief.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say just before we move on to our selections and then to Thirsk, I was at Churchill Downs for the Breeders' Cup a few years ago. I've never seen a trap dry faster than Churchill Downs. So when you're listening to this, it will be released on Saturday morning. Just search on Twitter about Churchill and see what the track's like. It's meant to rain, from what I can see, pretty much all of Friday. And then Saturday it's going to be okay. But say when I was at the Breeders' Cup, you couldn't see the inside rail because of water. And then you went back 3 hours later and it's as if nothing had ever happened before. It was the most ridiculous track in the world. But selections-wise for the Kentucky Derby, Tom. Do we say Derby or Derby, by the way? Do we go English or do we respect the Americans?
I think it should be Derby, but I just feel myself saying Kentucky Derby. I don't know why. Maybe I should change that to Derby.
Who are you siding with in the Derby?
Yeah, in the Derby. So Zandon is my lead selection. As I say, I was on him anti-post. I think he'll win this race. I know he's your morning line favourite, but he's got the most talent for me. As long as Flavien Prat can negotiate a perfect trip from off the speed, I think he's the most likely winner. And my other selection is a horse we haven't necessarily covered in much depth yet, which is Smile Happy. Now, he was 20-1 on the morning line. I don't think he'll be 20-1 at the off. He has tactical speed, and he fits in nicely with Zandon. He finished second in the Bluegrass. Didn't get a great trip at all at Keeneland, but still managed to hit the front, turning for home. He just succumbed to Zandon's late kick in the closing stages. But this is a horse who's always promised to be a proper classic contender in the States. And I think Smile Happy, after just 4 runs, can take a step forward and trouble Zandon once again. If I was to play exactas, it would be Zandon, Smile Happy, maybe an each way on Smile Happy and a win on Zandon as well.
Yeah, Smile Happy 20-1 on the morning line, and Zandon 3-1 on the morning line. I've tried so hard not to tip Zandon, and I haven't. I've gone against Tom. I do respect him, but I think the most likely winner in the race is Epicenter. I love that run in the Louisiana Derby last time around. He posted, as I say, a bare speed figure of 102. That, as I say, is 1 spot lower than 103, which is the maximum in this race. That's held by Tabor, who posted that on debut because, of course, you're from California. Why wouldn't you? But I do think that Epicenter's got a great chance in this race. My main bet, though, in the contest, if there is any, I don't know, if it's 14-1 or so, we're not going to get the 20-1 on the morning line about Charge It. He's a massive each way play in this race to me. Like I say, he will have learned from the Florida Derby. There will be more to come from him. This extra furlong will suit him down to the ground. And the reason for taking Charge It and Epicenter as well, you've got 2 horses that are running for you in different places on the track. Epicenter is going to go forward from inside stall 3, and Charge It, he's likely going to be nowhere near that, maybe more midfield and closing late on. So I'll take Epicenter and Charge It, Tom with Smile Happy and Zandon. That brings us down, or bring the curtain down on our Kentucky Derby. Look, best of luck however you guys do play things. Do have to have a quick look at Thirsk on Saturday night as well, Tom. You've got 2 fancies for us.
I do, yeah. Obviously, this isn't the same class as you're going to get at Churchill Downs, but there's still winnable races. Every race has a winner is a phrase I like to stick by. Finding that winner is sometimes more difficult in the weaker races, but still. A couple of horses I like at Thirsk, as you say. I'm hoping to top and tail the card. The first horse that I like is in the 0-70 fillies handicap that opens the card at 5:30. Now, there were 2 in here that caught my eye, and I had about half an hour deliberating to myself which one had stronger claims. And I eventually came down on a horse called Eruption. Now, I should mention the other horse on the short list was Lady Nectar, who's 2 from 2 at Thirsk, has great course form, but she only ran 4 days ago. That's a slight worry for me. When she's been quickly turned out before, she's sometimes failed to repeat the same level of form she showed a few days before. So I want to be taking her on. I do think she's a major player, though. The selection, however, Eruption, this filly finished a really good 4th in a novice event at Weatherby last summer. The winner of that race was a horse called Fearby, who's now rated 104 and went on to place in the Moulcombe and Mill Reef, both group races. So obviously the fact that Eruption was tackling the likes of Fearby suggests that, she was never really ever going to win that race, and how close she got was remarkable. The horse in second, Lethal Levi, has won 3 times since is now rated 82. The third, Haymaker, won the other day at Newmarket as well, and is going to be rated in the low 80s. Eruption's running here off a mark in the low 50s. I think she's got a phenomenal chance. And her recent effort, where she won at Musselburgh, it wasn't the most impressive success, but I think she was valued for much more than the winning margin. I think she's a major player in the opener. And the other horse that I like on the card is Truth in Jest in the closing race. That's at 8:35, a 6 furlong handicap. This gelding broke his maiden at the track last June. It was a real nice handicap success. He was drawn high, ran against the near side rail, scooted clear in the closing stages. I think we might be Groundhog Day here. He's been threatening to win since. Last time out, he closed well from off the speed at Doncaster, and the return to this track on the drop-in trip should suit Truth in Jest in the 8:35.
Yeah, I'm going somewhere in the middle of Tom's selections, as he would over at Thirsk, to be fair, because he's trying to bookend the card. I'm going with Lost My Sock, who, to be fair, ever since Lost My Sock's gone handicapping, he's just plummeted in the weights. He started off his handicapping life off a mark of 76. He's down now to 64. I didn't think ran badly at Pontefract last time around, though. It's a track this year that it'll be no shock to you that Pontefract front runners are dominating, especially in the sprint races. Lost My Sock completely missed the break, had to be rushed up. He managed to make it sort of midfield / handy. He was out wide. It was a disaster, but to finish 4th probably wasn't a bad run in that, especially behind the likes of King of Tonga, who's been a horse who started off the season in just great form. He ran well at Wetherby again the other day. So I'll take Lost My Sock for Tim Easterby and Dave Dallin. And hopefully, Tom, that leads us to having about a dead heat 4-way in the Kentucky Derby and then 3 winners at Thirsk.
Imagine the scenes, Luke. First episode, we go through the card at Thirsk, and then we somehow manage to get the superfecta up in the Kentucky Derby. Look, we live in hopes. Hopefully, we can just pick a few winners across the cards, especially in the Kentucky Derby, because I know that's where our main bets would be.
Yes, absolutely. And if you want a bit of help on that as well, new SBK customers will get £30 in free bets by depositing £10 T's and C's. Do apply on that, but that might just help you through the Kentucky Derby and Thirsk. Tom, It's been a pleasure. We'll be back next week around the same sort of time. It won't be quite as frantic next week, but then we can look towards the Preakness after that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week's action. Obviously not as good as the Kentucky Derby, but hopefully we're still living up the life after picking the winner at Churchill Downs. And then we'll be back, hopefully, as you say, for following weeks with extra tip on the main US races and the UK evening racing, if that's your bag.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. This was the first episode of the SBK Saturday Selections. We'll be back with you next Saturday morning, hopefully, after absolutely nailing the Kentucky Derby. We'll see you then.